Hello and welcome to this Young Director Award interview. I'm Daniel Huntley from Shots, and joining me today is Natasha Mynhier, who directed the short film In a Beat, a piece that won gold at this year's YDA in the mid-length film category. Thanks for joining me, Natasha. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Where are you calling from today?
I'm actually calling from Santa Monica. We're based in Los Angeles. Our offices are here.
Nice. Is the sun shining in Santa Monica?
It's like the first cloudy day in maybe in this whole pandemic. No, but
Okay, good.
it's kind of a breath of fresh air after all these fires and stuff. So it's
Of
nice.
course, yeah, of course. Okay, so congrats on the award, Natasha.
Thank
But
you.
let's start at the beginning. So, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and your route into directing?
Yeah. So I actually grew up as a dancer. So my background in the arts came from the dance industry. And then when I went to college, I started at NYU in dance and then transitioned into screenwriting when I realized that the storytelling aspect of dance is actually what I enjoyed more than specifically movement itself. And so then I started shooting dance reels for people, and that's when I started kind of learning camera work. And after graduating from the screenwriting program, I met an amazing cinematographer, and so he and I kind of like started exploring storytelling over the course of the last like 5 years. And I think that was my transition into taking storytelling and just finding literally any avenue possible to do it.
Okay. So what made you want to pursue the directing route then? What's your push? What's your passion behind it?
Definitely storytelling. I think the purpose of my filmmaking is very much like I believe in making films that have a purpose and are cause driven. And there's obviously so many plentiful causes in the world right now that need attention and need a voice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that whether it was directing or I also work as a cinematographer, but whatever the necessary tool is, I think getting the story out there is the ultimate goal. So.
Talking about causes and storytelling, what were the origins for the film? Where did this story come from, and why is it important to you?
That's a great question. So my cousin is autistic, and his experience with autism has been a very impactful experience to me. He's one of many people in my life that are autistic, and I think the range of experiences are so diverse. So after thinking a lot about, I knew I wanted to do something about autism, and I wanted to, share a more realistic representation of autism. I think a lot of films do beautiful jobs of kind of more uh, eccentric maybe representations. And I think we really wanted to just make something super naturalistic and very um, realistic, and also something about the Black experience with autism, because it was important. My cousin is Black, and his experience with autism was very different, I think, than the white community or any of the other communities. And so I wanted to there are literally no films that show autism in the Black community. And so I wanted to focus on that, and I wanted to see it through the lens of a single parent, mostly so that we could really focus on the child and on their relationship and on this music therapy between the two of them. So that the story was born out of my cousin. And um, I guess one further thing to highlight is born out of my dance background. I knew I wanted to do something that had dance in it, and I
Yeah.
was good friends with so many great tap dancers that it felt like the perfect mixture of two things, because music therapy is so relevant in autism, and it was very relevant in my cousin's story. And
Okay.
so I felt like it was a perfect correlation of two worlds that I cared about.
Cool. Oh, that's interesting. So, how did you cast the lead actress? Was she already a dancer?
Yeah, so she is an amazing, well-known. She's, I'd say, probably one of the most popular female tap dancers out there. She's like what do you call it? Dances for Beyonce. Da, da, da. She's all over the
Yeah.
place with her. Her videos have millions of views. So she's just truly an incredible, inspiring female dancer, and is, I think, one of the few voices for with female dancers in general, but also especially female tap dancers and Black female tap dancers. The categories really narrow in, but she's a very powerful voice in the industry, and has worked with you know everyone from Gregory Hines to every great you can think of. So she's a she's a huge icon and someone I really admired, and so it was a wonderful thing that I had relationships with her because of being a dancer. And And so getting her to do it was simply taking her class and handing her a script. So
Nice. So how long was the shoot? Was it a couple of days, or was it over, of course, a couple of weeks? How did it pan out?
4 days in and out.
Nice.
We got right in and out. Yeah.
So were there any challenges, shooting this? I guess because of your dance background, the choreography and dancing section surely would have been a breeze, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
the choreography was Chloe. I mean, she's just so talented and so incredible, and like even the main tap scene where it's her and this small band. That scene was probably one of the highlights of my life, to be honest, because like I love music so much and I love dance and I love improvisation, and this group of musicians work together pretty frequently and they're a great, improvisation group. And so that whole scene is actually tap and music improv.
Oh,
But it's just like there was an element of me getting to kind of like sing a melody that I knew I wanted them to use. And so it was such a fun live example of when a director can get involved and stand there and say, okay, I'm thinking dooba dooba or whatever, like I sang her a little tune, and then she brought that tune to life in a way that I think was uh, so memorable for me, at least.
yeah. I mean, it's a very powerful film. It's very emotional, and I think that sort of the dance and kind of the black experience kind of combined makes a really unique film, in my opinion. So with regards to like black representation in film, how important was that for you to get that right? With regards to like the single mother aspect.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Extremely important. I'd say the two greatest challenges we faced were representing autism accurately, number one, and then number two, representing the Black experience accurately. Obviously, I think what we did is we spent a lot of time with experts. I just very specifically like tried not to be the voice of either of those two areas, and very much surrounded myself from the inception of the idea, which was obviously because it was so specifically about my cousin's experience. I just like stuck to it as strictly as possible. I like every single one of his mannerisms, especially when he was younger, all of his like nuances, biting the shirt, everything like
Yeah.
that he does is specific to him. And then we actually had his mother come on set the whole time we were filming so that we could nail that. And then as far as the Black experience, Chloe is a huge advocate. And so I very much let her be that voice. Like she gave me ample notes on the script. She was so involved in the process while being there, since there's really only two characters, and yeah, she was definitely the voice of reason and activism in that department. So
All right, great stuff. So do you plan on doing any more short films in the future, or are you looking to move into advertising? And if so, what really excites you about that?
interesting. Um, yeah, so I think I'm definitely interested in both. I'll say that
Cool.
is the short answer. So we believe very much in our company, and advertising is such a wonderful playground for directors and filmmakers and just all creators in general. I mean, it's such a good place for you to one, I love companies that are doing innovative and important things for the world. Like the very first commercial I ever did was with MD Anderson Cancer Center, and it was on behalf of their oncology expert advisor, and it was such like an interesting and life-changing tool that like creating an advertisement for it felt so wholesome and necessary. It was just something that I think people really needed to learn about so that they could
Yeah.
get themselves the care that they need and deserve. So I think in the breadth of different experiences I've had in advertising, I think they can be such interesting ways to meet influential and innovative thinkers, as well as get to explore my creative chops in a faster kind of short content way. So I appreciate that.
Cool, great. So what have you got coming up next? Have you got any projects that you're working on right now that you can tell us about?
Oh yes. So like we said, I think In a Beat was such a great beginning to our films with a purpose. We really want, like we spoke of, we want to have these stories that take something really important to us, a cause that's really important, and put it in the context of of a narrative that allows people to connect, because the big themes in the movie, right, we're empathy, we're music therapy in all of its forms, we're showing empathy in the autism community, which is such a rare thing. So our next project is a feature, and we're working on well, besides our continuing advertising work, but our next project is a feature that is about narcissism, actually. So we think it's a very rampant problem in the US and all over the world, but it's something that I think is very, very interesting in how it impacts families and how it impacts our psychology, especially how it impacts women. I think women are very vulnerable in this kind of somewhat still patriarchal, narcissistic society that we're in. So our goal is to take some of those and distill them into a story that is hopefully really interesting and exciting.
Oh, it sounds great. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So thank you very much for joining me, Natasha, and all the best in the future. Take care.
Thank you.